Thank you.
Application number 755-24, Guy and Jessica Pierre. Permission to leave pool patio having rear yard of 3.4 feet instead of required 6 feet, and rubber mulch play area on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, south side of Benning Lane, 449.91 feet east of Grundy Avenue, Holbrook.
I'm Guy Pierre of 20 Benning Lane, Holbrook.
Good evening. You're here just on the pool patio and the play area?
Yep.
Yes. Any questions from the board on this?
No questions.
Planning, do you have any comments?
No comment.
No comments. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the application.
A second. All in favor? Aye. Application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 756-24, Raymond and Helen DeLeese. Permission to leave shed 10.4 by 24, having side yard of 1.9 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence AA District, south side of Ocean Avenue, 500 feet west of Fulton Street, Brentwood.
Raymond DeLeese, 236 Ocean Avenue, Brentwood.
Good evening, sir. You're here on the shed?
Yes.
Okay, any questions from the board on this?
No
On
questions.
planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion, please. I'll make a motion. We get a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted. Thank you.
Is it? All right, cool.
Application number 757-24, Amanda and Abel Nolasco. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to section 68-602, to leave air conditioning unit not having 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, and pool equipment having rear yard of 3 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence A District, south side of Stumple Street, 170 feet west of Virgil Drive, Brentwood.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, with offices at 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New York. We are here tonight to establish an accessory apartment. The dwelling is owner-occupied. The square footage is 415, and the driveway has been reviewed by engineering. It is the correct size, but in order to get their final approval, we have to do a hold harmless agreement for the pavers in the town right-of-way. The AC unit has been there for about 5 years or so. It is covered by shrubbery and not visible from the street in any way. And the pool equipment was in that location when the pool was installed and CO'd in 1978.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No questions.
Planning, any comments?
Just to say, typically we wouldn't want an AC unit in the front yard, but considering it is completely screened from view, from what I can tell, it's not really causing a problem.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No? Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the application.
3 years on the accessory apartment?
3 years on the accessory apartment.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Application is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 758-24, Jerome Capoccia. Permission to leave shed 9.2 by 20, having side yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 4 feet, and shed 7.8 by 10, having side yard of 1.8 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, west side of West Court, 155.19 feet north of Westminster Lane, West Islip.
Good evening again. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, with offices at 231 Islip Avenue. We're here for 2 sheds. One is fairly small. It's 78 square feet. The other shed is 184 square feet. Both sheds have been there for at least 25 years.
Any questions from the board?
No questions.
Planning, any comments on this?
No comment.
No comment. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Thank you. No? Okay, I'll take the motion, please.
It's cute, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Application number 759-24, Juan Moncada Borja and Marisol Sanchez. Permission to leave awning, leaving front yard on a through lot of 32 feet instead of required 40 feet. Pool patio on-side property line not having required setback of 6 feet. Shed having side yard of 0.7 feet instead of required 2 feet, and having 9 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet. Residence A District, north side of Benjamin Street, 400 feet west of Coates Avenue, through lot to Center Street, Holbrook.
Good evening again. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, with offices at 231 Islip Avenue. We're here for an awning. So it says front yard through lot. The awning is a small covering over the rear door. It says through lot, the backyard is the end of a court on the other side. The pool patio was installed with the pool that was CO'd in 2020. I'm not sure why it wasn't picked up back then, but from the aerials, the pool patio hasn't increased in any way from the way it appeared in 2020. And the shed is a smaller shed. It's about 9 feet from the front line instead of the required 20 feet.
Yeah, the through lot here being Center Street, it just dead ends at the back here, so an awning at 32, it sounds much worse than it actually is. It's, honestly, this kind of through lot is rather ridiculous for them to conform to. And I would agree with the shed. It's very small. It's only a little, like, somewhere between 7 and 8 feet high. I don't really think it's causing any problems.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application?
Make a motion to approve the application.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 760-24. RPZZ Ronkonkoma Owner LLC, permission to install 5 public interest signs having areas of 6 square feet instead of permitted 3 square feet each. Industrial 1 District, west side of MacArthur Memorial Highway, 150 feet north of Veterans Memorial Highway, Ronkonkoma.
Good evening, everybody. Sean O'Rourke on behalf of General Electric Aerospace, the tenant, 1000 MacArthur Memorial Highway.
Could you slow down? I have difficulty.
Sorry about that. My name is Sean O'Rourke, and I'm with GE Aerospace. We're the tenant at 1000 MacArthur Memorial Highway. That's the location of the address, I should say.
Okay, just here on the signs, sir?
Yes, sir. Yep, looking to update some public information signs, the old ones that are decades old, rusting and fading, looking to update it in line with the standard signage that we just updated outside on the street. This would be inside in the parking lot area.
Are they the same size as the ones you're replacing?
No, these are different. So the ones that we're replacing, they're short but wide. These are going to be more square.
You're also twice the size.
I'm sorry, yes, they're 6 feet as opposed to the 3 feet.
Planning, any comments on this?
The signs have been reviewed in planning, and we have no issue with how they look.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? No? All right, I'll take a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the application.
All in favor? Aye. Application's granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Application number 761-24, Charles Gandolfo Sr. and Charles Gandolfo Jr. Permission to erect 2-story dwelling, leaving front yard of 29.2 feet instead of required 40 feet. Residence A District, west side of Udall Road, 455 feet south of Curtin Avenue, West Islip.
Hi, good evening. I'm Bill Fisher with JM2 Architecture, representing the owners, and we're here before you to construct a new single-family dwelling on the existing foundation from the previous fire, which is a previous house, which was destroyed by a fire.
The previous house has been...
Previous house was destroyed by a fire. We took out a demo permit to remove it, and we're proposing a new house.
And what was the distance?
29.2 feet as opposed to 40, which is required.
So you want to just use the exact same foundation?
Yes.
Planning, do you have any comments on this?
As he said, they're reusing the foundation, and their house is not really any closer to any of the other ones in the line along Udall. They're all approximately the same there.
Any other questions from the board? No. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to grant the application.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Application's granted.
Thank you.
Application number 762-24, Alan and Arlene Casaza. Permission to leave 1-story addition, 12.5 by 19.7, having a rear yard of 12.8 feet instead of required 25 feet. Detached garage, 25.3 by 26.3, having side yard of 9.6 feet and rear yard of 9.5 feet instead of required 10 feet each, and height of 14.21 feet instead of permitted 14 feet. To leave 6-foot fence, having front yard of 0.5 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A District, southwest corner of Violet Street and Rose Avenue, Central Islip.
John Bracco, architect, 111 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York. Good evening, members of the board. John Bracco, architect, on behalf of the owner and applicant, Arlene Casaza. Michael Casaza is here with us this evening. Michael, who is the applicant's son, has been a Town of Islip employee for the past 14 years. We're here before you this evening in regards to 3 items. First, a recently built detached garage, which was built 5 inches too close to the side property line and 6 inches too close from the rear property line, then the required 10-foot setback, as well as 2 inches too tall. We feel these setbacks are all de minimis in nature in regards to the required setbacks. Second is an existing 6-foot-high chain-link fence, 6 inches from the second front yard property line on Rose Avenue. The fence has been there for approximately 20 years. Based on the fact that the fence is chain-link, it is behind the front wall line of the house, it is 11.3 feet from the edge of pavement and at least 50 feet from the intersection. It poses no sightline issues to cars approaching in any direction. Yes. Yep. Yes. I agree. Mhm. Yes. Yes. Mhm. Yep. I have no prior grants, but I do have some points that I would like to make. Okay. No prior grants. I know. Mhm. Nothing close to that 12.8, but I'll just read you what I got. The last item is an existing one-story addition with a rear yard setback of 12.8 feet where 25 feet is required.
My question is,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking us for heavy
Yes.
relaxation,
Mm-hmm.
which we would be hard pressed to deny to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
So what exceptional, extraordinary, I don't know any other synonym,
Yeah.
circumstances do you have that would just overwhelmingly
Right.
make us grant?
Well, yep. I'll read this, and you tell me whether or not you think they fall under those. The house was built in 1972. An aerial photo from the late 70s shows the one-story structure in question, so it was built shortly after the house was built and has been there for at least 45 years. Okay. At the time the house and addition were built, you were able to sketch the house on the building application and pick which was your side yard and which was your rear yard for corner properties. In other words, because the distance to the house was only 25 feet on the yard in question and 47.4 feet on the yard opposite Rose, the yard in question functioned as a side yard. In addition, the properties directly to the west and north, also corner properties, have Rose Street addresses.
I understand that you've heard this a lot. I understand that you could pick your rear yard.
Mhm.
However, they opted to pick a different rear yard.
Yes.
Get the benefit of that side. And now they said, oh, I got the benefit of that, but I'll now give you the benefit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what other
So again, the adjacent property to the west, that is their side yard, that shares the property line that we are seeking the variance from, so we are not encroaching on the neighbor's rear yard. We have submitted some pictures of the inside of the room, which is a small den, mostly used for some cute dogs that you see in the pictures there. And if the board has any questions, we'll do our best. I didn't say we were not encroaching. Yeah. No, I didn't say that, no. Yeah, what we're saying is the neighbor directly to the west that, they share that property line with, that is their side yard. It's not their rear yard. So what we're trying to say is by asking the relief for this variance, we're not encroaching on the neighbor's rear yard. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. Yep, I understand.
Any other, just so
Yep. Yep. Well, no, again, just other to reiterate that it's been there for 45 years. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so to try to reiterate what he was saying here, and the point he was trying to make, which I believe he did rather well, actually, is it was constructed, and this was verifiable by aerial imagery, sometime before 1978, at a time where people could pick what their primary front was. So the argument he's trying to make is at the time that it was constructed, it could have been, and probably would have been if it had come to get legalized at that time, considered a side yard setback, which would have been then 13 instead of 14, something relatively trivial in the eyes of the board. That it's now a rear yard is very unfortunate for the applicant, of course, but in terms of substantiality, obviously, it is substantial. You pointed that out. In terms of impact, if this was a side yard, we wouldn't even be considering it, like I said. In this case, it being a rear yard doesn't really change the actual impact that it's having on the neighbor here. So really, the only issue here is the degree of relaxation, which could be argued that based on the age of the structure, that it could have been granted when it was originally constructed. Given that it's really a matter of whether or not the age of the structure, that it was built in the 70s at a time where this may have been allowed, is in benefit of the applicant enough to go beyond the substantiality of the request, whether that weighs in favor of the applicant enough to grant it. That is up to the board. Asking me or John? Okay, the 6-foot fence here in question, there was actually two originally. They had the 6-foot fence on Violet and on Rose. They already actually scaled back the one on their primary front, which would have been in the corner here. So it leaves the one back here. It's a 4-foot fence that tapers to a 6-foot fence when it passes the front line of the dwelling, as he said. This is a corner lot. Obviously, the board knows we do have exceptions sometimes for corner lots with 6-foot fences and second front yards. They don't meet that criteria, unfortunately, even though they're in Res A, and the policy was mostly developed for Res A and Res B. It was set at 11,250 because that's the minimum lot standard for Res A. They're a bit oversized. They're at 13,000 square feet, about 1,750 above, otherwise meeting the exception and not requiring a variance whatsoever. It's a bit beyond the normal range of what the board would usually consider, but it is a circumstance where it is a bit unfortunate for the people that are in Res A who have a little bit of an oversized lot on these corner properties.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Yes. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Let's get these. Here's the correct files, right? Yeah, here we go. Want me to pass? You ready? Application number 763-24, Patricia and David Austin II. Permission to leave roofed-over patio having side yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 14 feet. Patio having side yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 4 feet. Shed having second front yard of 18.8 feet instead of required 27 feet. And water feature in front yard when only permitted in rear yard, and having second front yard of 18.6 feet instead of required 27 feet. Residence A District, southwest corner of Boston Avenue and Ithaca Street, Bay Shore.
It's Michael Arato. Michael, and last name is Arato, A-R-A-T-O, 245 Route 109, Suite D, West Babylon, New York, 1174.
You can lift up the microphone.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So I'm here representing the owners, David and Patricia Austin. So we're here today seeking relief to maintain 4 structures that don't have the necessary setbacks. So the first 2 are roofed over and a patio. So the roof over patio has a side yard setback of 0.8 where 14 is required. Obviously, this patio is covered by this roofed over, which the patio has a setback of 1.3 where 4 feet is required. So the owners purchased this property in the summer of 1978, and these two structures were existing. We've looked up on Suffolk County GIS, and we confirmed these structures have been there from at least 78, maybe even 64. While the roofed over is very close to the property line, there is a gutter system installed to divert any sort of water going onto the neighbor's property. The owner has spoken to the nearest property over there. His name is Ben Mancuso, and he said that he doesn't have a problem with this structure. The only thing he would like is if they could divert the water to the west end of the property. But other than that, the structure has been there, and they have no issues with it. The third structure is the water feature, which is actually just a fish pond. It's about a 4 by 6 fish pond. It's about 18 inches, about 18 inches in depth. It has an 18.6 foot setback where 27 is required. The yard is enclosed by a chain link and vinyl fence, so nobody can just walk onto the property and fall into this. And again, it's only 18 inches deep, so it's not really that of a negative impact on the property. The fourth structure is a shed. It's a 5.4 by 8 shed, which is about 43 square feet. Has an 18.8 setback where 27 is required. This shed is set deep in the yard, so it's not even visible from the street. It's, the setback from the house is 16.4, so no matter what they build, we'll be back in front of here asking for a variance.
And it may be a more reasonable variance.
Yeah, I mean, 0.8, when somebody says, look, I want 0.7, oh, that's crazy. I mean, how do we get 0.8? I can't do the math at the top of my head, but it's about, what do you say, 94% relaxation?
At least.
I mean, again,
I'm just, no, I understand. Well, the reason why the owners wanted it is, like I said, it's been there since they bought it in '78. Hasn't been a problem. It doesn't.
I hear that often. What would be a problem? What would a roof over cause the problem?
Runoff, things like that, but it's not causing any of that onto the neighbor's property. Given the conditions of the structure, I mean, it's been there since '78. Nobody said anything about it, so it's not like they just built it yesterday. Because the owners wanted the setback wasn't there, so the town made us come for a variance. No. They're just legalizing the structures that are on the property. There's a sunroom that we had to legalize. So when we because we had to legalize the sunroom. So, and in doing so, when we submitted the survey, everything else got flagged. The shed, yeah. So the shed, the pond, everything came up. It was just their decision. No. No, they're not selling the house.
So you don't know?
I don't know the answer as to, but this is how it came up, is that we went to legalize the structures, we submitted an updated survey, and this is where it came up.
Landon, do you have any comments on this?
I have a few. To start with, now I don't know the specifics of this, but code enforcement did receive a complaint in April. It's listed as a complaint for roofs and drainage.
I wasn't.
So who told you that you said it 4 times, so
Who said what?
who told you there's never been a problem when the first thing you find out is that there's been complaints of drainage? Who told you that there has been?
I wasn't aware of that. I just wasn't aware of it. So,
Somebody must, hang on.
oh, it's possible. Like I just said, you asked me and I just,
client tell you it's never been a problem?
Yeah, no, I wasn't aware of it.
You keep saying,
I answered your question. You asked me, and I said no, they did not.
where did you get your information from? You made a statement.
That I came to legal,
Wait. You made a statement to us, sir, that you
Okay.
wanted us to rely on. Well, there's never been a problem with drainage. You said it 4 times. I'm asking you, I understand you're not aware of it. Where did you get that information that you stated to us? You got it from somewhere or you made it up?
I made up what?
That there's never been a problem.
I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know. So what's I'm saying, when I filed,
Why did you say it then if you didn't have the information? All right, enough.
Just so you know, if you think that he's being hard on you, I used to be an applicant's attorney, and he was worse than, and he used to say he was making me a better attorney.
no,
People make statements, no, it doesn't compromise.
yeah.
To try to refocus it a bit, that's where these pictures come from, was code enforcement. There are active cases on the site. I don't know who filed the complaint. Again, I don't have access to that information, but there is or was a complaint, and it's listed as roofs and drainage. Regardless of that, though, even if that didn't exist, I would say that based on these pictures you can see here, it's practically over the fence. It seems to me that it would very easily cause a drainage issue, not to mention that it's just pretty encroaching on the neighbor's property. I don't see how the roof over can necessarily continue to exist in its current location. Beyond that, I don't really have too much of an issue with the rest of the application. The only other thing that kind of might spark some interest would be the water feature in the front. That's just a function of they have a very weird lot. They basically do not have a rear yard. In fact, this basically is their rear yard, you can see with this roof over. So it's kind of in their side yard, and it happens to peek out in front of the front line of the dwelling based on the surveyor's drawing, which, after looking at it, I'm not even sure if really the water feature is necessarily what peeks out in front of it so much as the garden around the water feature. I don't think it's much of an issue so long as it's enclosed with fencing and stuff like that, which appears to be.
It's about 4 by 6 and 18 inches deep. That's like the whole, it's not that big. It's covered by like,
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Yeah, that's the water feature.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and the board. My name is Benjamin Mancuso. I live at 25 Sarwalk Lane, which is the property directly behind the property that's in question at the moment. And that roof that is 8/10 of a foot from the property line is on my near my backyard. As a matter of history and practice, I do not have an objection to that roof and its existence. My issue is with it being used as a conveyance for, as a drain for the roof as enlarged onto my property. And by the photo there, you can actually see a gutter directed there. I did have a conversation with Patricia Austin Sunday. She came over and said they will remove that drain and direct the water away from my property. Provided that condition is met, I have no objection to that patio remaining there. I really can't see it from my property because there's evergreens between the two properties, and it's in the back corner of my yard, but I really just don't want water directed at my brand-new cedar fence, which is on the existing line of my last cedar fence, which was there for 20-something years.
No questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Make a motion to deny that portion of the application for a roof over patio, leaving the side yard at 318 instead of required 2 feet.
Aye.
thank you.
Application number 764-24, Robert Armstrong. Permission to erect detached garage, 24 by 26, having door height of 9 feet instead of permitted 8 feet, and roof pitch of 2 on 12, not in keeping with residential character, and to leave driveway on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence AA District, south side of Ironwood Street, 220 feet west of Wilson Boulevard, Islip.
Hi, Tim Jordan, representing Robert Armstrong. My address is 9 Flamingo Drive. Oh, I'm sorry, let me give you the office. That's 34 Cherry Lane, Smithtown, New York, 11787. We're here today, as mentioned, for an existing driveway, not holding the 4-foot setback that is required. Robert has owned the house for approximately 5 years, but he was able to Google some pictures showing that was there back in the 90s. And as far as the proposed detached garage, he has large trucks that would need to be accommodated for the larger door. As far as the pitch goes, with regards to character of the neighborhood, if we were to get what he would require, that would bring us here for a height variance of over 2 feet. We tried our best to avoid the variances altogether, but these came up during the course of the application. Robert is here to answer any questions that I might not be able to.
Okay, any questions from the board at this time? No? Planning, any comments?
I'm sorry, you may have actually explained this. I was reading through it. Why does it need to be like this? You were saying you would need a height variance otherwise. What's going in there that it needs to be this tall?
He has trucks.
Just trucks, or like trucks for what? Like a pickup truck, or?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Robert.
Hold on. Just, if you could give us your name and address, sir?
Absolutely. Good evening, my name's Robert Armstrong, 112 Ironwood Street, Islip, New York. I do have trucks and like a classic Camaro that I like to work on and everything, and it's only from my personal preference to have like the space up to have like a portable lift to work on the car and everything. That's why I need the height.
We rarely grant additions higher than 8 feet, and it's not as though you can't fit the truck in, it's just you want to be able to lift.
Well, one of my pickup trucks is about 7'9", and to even change the tire on it would bring it over 8 foot to like lift it up, the height to be changed.
You could get it in through the door at 7'9", correct?
No, that's why the door is being proposed for 9 foot.
So let's just take a look at the elevations really quick.
Planning,
Do we have any grants?
No, this is not something we typically even look at, let alone grant. Especially the second one with the roof pitch is highly unusual. The whole point of that is that a more flat roof is more evocative of what you would expect from a commercial or industrial area rather than this. And it does allow him to get the 2 garage doors that are higher up on either side and gives him more space in there. I mean, they're right to bring up that in order to accommodate the same thing, that they would need to otherwise, if they were to have the roof pitch correct, to just make the building higher than 14, but the fact of the matter is that that's something that the code is trying to prevent in the first place. It doesn't sound like what he's proposing here is necessarily what we are most concerned about, but what we are concerned about with regulating these garage heights and the roof pitch, et cetera, is that it sort of encourages the use that you would expect from a more commercial thing. Not claiming that that's what he's doing, but it encourages that kind of use for the future, because it's accommodating for that sort of issue. Even if he never does it, the next owner could come in and be like, hey, I could fit my, truck or my commercial van in there. So that's why we have these sorts of regulations in place, and it's not something we typically vary from, certainly not for a new structure. I don't think the circumstances would really warrant to do so in this case.
And how does the roof pitch come into play? Or that?
The roof pitch basically, it's 2 inches over 12 inches. Now, I'm not an architect, so this isn't really my field, but basically the 2 over 12 means that it's closer to a flat roof. And on the edges, it'll be higher up, as opposed to if you have a 14-foot height to the ridge, coming down, you'll have less height on the sides of the garage, less interior space. Normal residential we don't have the standard written here, but a pretty typical residential standard for a slope would be 5 inches over 12, more of a pitched roof coming down. And again, yeah, this is more evocative, not exactly, but closer to what you would expect from a commercial thing, like a sort of drive-in garage, where, to be fair, you would be able to like work on a car with a jack-up like that. Often why those kinds of, car repair places would have a flat roof structure.
Yeah, that's,
You're correct. With most standard houses and most buildings, you're going to be looking at like a 5/12 or a 6/12 pitch, which either one of those would bring us before you due to the the height for it to accommodate for his pickup trucks to go through there. With regard to the actual code that it's in violation of, which is bringing up more of a character of the neighborhood thing, there are modern houses and modern structures that are built with those types of pitches or lower pitches. Also with regards to the character of the neighborhood, I have visited the neighborhood. There's not too many houses that are even of the same layout, or it seems like all of the houses are different and unique in their own way. Some are little boxes, some are big double 2 stories. There's a split level, there's a ranch, there's a high ranch. The only thing I found that had like any conformity was behind him across the street, where I saw a row of houses that seemed to conform to one another. So I'm just going on the verbatim of how this is written out. I understand it's also keeping in mind with, there was a garage that was proposed not too long ago in which the garage was pretty much the size of the house. And that's what this is entailed, is for character of the neighborhood. They don't want to, you don't want a garage that's 75% of the same size of the dwelling. But with regards to this, the way I read it, I didn't read it like as a commercial building. And if that's your interpretation of it, I respect that, but that's not the way I interpreted what I read on the zoning ordinance.
Doors at 9 feet, right?
Yes.
It's a
Is there one car
two
that-
car.
Two-car
garage.
Okay.
but only the one truck is as high as 7.9?
Yes, and then my other car, just in case I need to switch over to the other side of the garage or anything like that. I'm sorry.
When you have to change the tire?
Change the tire or do an oil change or anything.
Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application? No. Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make a motion that we deny the application. There's no precedent.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, application's denied, sorry.
There was the matter of the driveway as well in here, I think, right? It wasn't the focus of the conversation, but I think there was something about a driveway in here.
Yeah, on side property.
Driveway on the side, not requiring.
That's fine.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
All right, that will grant. So I'll amend that denial to grant so much of the application seeking to leave the driveway on the side property line.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
The driveway's okay, but the building's not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a good get. Application number 765-24, John and Ann Lopez. Permission to erect roofed-over patio, 13 by 30, leaving rear yard of 11 feet instead of required 25 feet, and floor area ratio of 35.5% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, west side of Pace Court, 172.37 feet west of Oak Neck Road, West Islip.
Good evening, everybody. John Lopez, Ann Lopez, 14 Pace Court, West Islip, New York.
Good evening, sir. So you're here on the roofed-over patio, which you just heard.
Yes.
And then the FAR. Planning any comments on either of these items?
I'm not even there yet, hold on.
He's got so much tonight.
Okay, Right. As far as this goes, the roof over patio is what's causing this high FAR here. This is not atypical FAR in this area. There's one or two grants that actually are around this range, to be fair. They're in much smaller lots that are nearby on a different road. I think the circumstances there are pretty different, if I'm just gonna try to actually bring it up here for you. So here they have, it is an unusually shaped lot, to be sure. It's, on a cul-de-sac, curvilinear, frontage, shallow rear yard. The only grants that are above 30 are more to the east on Myrtle with these very small substandard lots. It's pretty hard to read right now. And that's really it. Most of this area has been kept to 30% over the years. And considering this, the rear yard here, again, it is shallow. I think it already exists substandard. It's either 25 exactly. I think I measured it at 24. They don't really have much other place to go with this, but it's not really something that is well supported. And it's causing both of the issues in this case. For the rear yard? Not that I could see.
Yes, I have a letter from my neighbor in the backyard stating that it doesn't bother him at all. No signed letter from him if you need it.
It's more than 50%.
It's just, to me, it's just a roof over or an awning.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application?
Is there any reason, like, will you pull it back a little bit? Or, like, how do we go from here?
My recommendation would be that, and I don't know if this is something you do, if you were to have this detached and make it smaller, you might be able to solve both of your issues. If it's detached, if it's considered an accessory structure, your setbacks change. If it's less than like 500 square feet of an accessory structure, you may actually be able to do that without even requiring a variance at all. I would talk with zoning about that if that's something you're amenable to, but it's the fact that it's attached to your house that's causing the really big setback issue here, because then it has the setback of your house as opposed to an accessory
My
structure.
neighbor's house is like 100 feet from me, and left and right of me, they're like at an angle, so nobody sees it. And
There's two issues, though. There's the FAR and the setback.
I have a weird yard, that's my trouble. If you see it, it's
We understand.
the weirdest property in the world. I don't want to move, so I just want to put some kind of an awning.
I think as suggested, if you speak to somebody in the zoning.
And shorten it up a little, or make it smaller, I guess you're saying? Or detached?
He said zoning.
Detached?
The more important part there would have it detached. At that point, it's not considered part of your house. It's considered a separate structure, so these setbacks requirements change.
Okay.
It will make it a lot easier to fit that kind of thing in there. Again, you may not even need a variance for it at that point. If it's an accessory structure, the max setback for an accessory structure would be 10 feet.
Okay.
So why don't you go home, have a contemplative moment, call the town and see what, and then come back to us with a proposal?
Okay.
Or may not even need a variance.
You may not even need variance.
Ideally, you wouldn't need to come back here.
Okay.
I don't know if that will happen, to be clear. I haven't looked into it, but
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ilya, what kind of time?
Contemplative.
What is it?
It's the word of the day, Jordan.
What?
Jordan, did you get that?
Contemplative.
I
Jordan,
like that word.
did you get it? Yeah.
That's the word?
Put that down.
It might be
Use
a
that in
better
the next decision.
Application number 766-24, Frankie Lynn and Sean Rooney. Permission to erect two-story addition, 47 by 48.8 irregular, leaving side yard of 16 feet instead of required 18 feet, total side yards of 32.8 feet instead of required 36 feet, and floor area ratio of 30.51% instead of required, permitted 25%. Residence AA District, 278 Cluster, south side of 8th Street, 2,286.65 feet west of Roosevelt Avenue, Bohemia.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Timothy Clowen. My address is 3 Manorview Way, Manorville, New York, 11949. I'm representing Jeff Zahn Architects, who is the architect of record on the drawings. The first thing I'd like to just point to note is that there was an error in the FAR. If you look at the drawings that were given, the FAR is right here. It's actually, we're asking for 29.31 instead of the 30.51. So we're trying to keep it under the 30%.
I'm sorry, 29 point?
It's right here on the top, right here on the, it says 20.
What, it's,
I can
what is the
give
number?
you the, if you don't mind, I can give you.
What is the number?
It's 29.31.
Thank you.
Yep. Which is on the drawings that you should have.
That's in a completely different light. And you're
Okay. Yep. So we are asking for additional FAR. We did find several properties in the area that are similar to this. If you'd like, I can either read them off or give you examples as part of your...
Hold off for now.
Okay.
If you could, just, planning, do you have any comments on this?
I was just going to add that as far as the side yard setbacks is concerned, I looked into it with zoning, and this being a cluster subdivision, we went through the major subdivision file, and we don't even think that it requires a variance.
Okay.
I think they only need to be held to 14, so it doesn't even need to be varied.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve the application, but at 29.31 floor area ratio.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Application is granted at 29.31%.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Application number 767-24, Mary Ann Beal. Permission to erect second-story addition, leaving side yard of 11.9 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to alter roof line, leaving side yard of 11.9 feet and total side yards of 23.8 feet instead of required 28 feet. Residence B District, north side of Astor Road, 907.29 feet west of Ember Lane, West Islip.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Beal. I live at 301 Astor Road, West Islip, 11795. The request is because our grandchildren have come to live with us, so we have two little ones that are 9 and 10 now, and I have a 2-bedroom house. So we're somewhat busting at the seams, so we were hoping to be able to go up. We weren't aware we were going to need a variance to do that, so that's why we're here, or I'm here.
Planning, any comments?
The request seems within the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, any questions from the board? Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No? All right, I'll take a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 768-24, Bruno and Dawn Zimity. Permission to erect second-story addition, 11.6 by 20.9, leaving front yard of 4.2 feet, and one-story addition, 12 by 14, leaving front yard of 17.7 feet, and second front yard of 47.93 feet instead of required 50 feet each. To leave 6-foot fence on property line, not having required setback of 10 feet, not having required setback of 5 feet from the street edge of pavement, and within driveway site distance triangle. Northwest corner of Suffolk Lane and Hewlett Court, East Islip.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Cassetta. I'm with Campbell Cassetta Architects. I'm representing Bruno and Dawn Zimity, who are here tonight. So there are a couple of different aspects to this project. The first is the setback for the what is called a second floor addition. The second floor addition is a dormer, is an 8-foot wide dormer, and the reason that we need the setback it's actually a 7.2 foot setback to the dormer. The reason for the setback is because the building is only 4.2 feet off of the property line along Suffolk Lane. The building was constructed in 1850s, early 50s, and, just the development around it had put the building in this particular
Can I ask you a
location.
Question, sir.
Yes.
This is something that comes up quite often that we grapple with. We understand it's pre-existing, it's been there for 140 years. However, it's 4.2. When it's so compromised, what is the rationale for us to allow a second? I understand you're going basically straight up. What is the rationalization for us to allow that to happen when you're almost tripping over the property?
No, it's not, the way the variance is worded in this denial is not really accurate.
Well, okay, let's just figure it out then together.
Okay.
Right now, the property exists at 4.2.
Yes,
And it's one floor.
yes.
And you want to build a second floor.
Not on the section that is 4.2.
Okay.
The section that's 4.2,
It's going to
can't
remain
really
the
see
same?
it there. On the section on 4, and that's 4.2, is currently a flat roof that, if you have the photographs that were included with the package?
We do.
Okay, so you can see it's one of the 3 photographs. It has a flat roof. That roof line is going to be turned into a hip roof. So there's not really a second floor addition, it's just a new roof line.
Oh, you just, okay.
For that section of it. That's the section that's 4.2.
Okay.
Okay? Which would make it look much nicer to begin with
Okay,
in
no,
that area.
okay. I'm glad I asked.
The second floor addition is really only an 8-foot wide doghouse type dormer, and that's going on the north side of the property. I'm not sure if the photograph shows that side.
You'll have to, I can't, maybe somebody else on the board can figure that out. I can't see the doghouse dormer. Where on the property is that? Can you figure that out? If we, could you circle it? Right there. So where the dog.
No, wait.
Yeah, let's have,
Oh, okay.
oh, this little jut
Yeah.
on the.
So this is the east elevation of the building that we're looking at now, okay? That's the flat roof that I was mentioning. That section, that corner, the southeast corner of that flat section of the building is only 4.2 feet off the
And that's where you
property.
want to put a gable.
We're putting a hip roof on top of
A
that.
hip roof, okay,
Right,
show
and
us the
tying it into
doghouse.
the main roof.
Show us the doghouse.
Okay, so the doghouse is actually on the north side. But that's the floor. Okay, it's set, you see the gable with the 2 windows that faces east?
So you just want to change on the floor too? You just want to change the pitch of the roof and make that-
On the 4.2,
Okay.
correct. The other dormer is a small 8-foot wide doghouse dormer that is on the opposite side of that main gable there, on the north side of it. And it's just to allow additional headroom. The third addition is a single-story addition, which is looking for a front yard setback of 17.7.
Planning, you have any comments on this?
Yeah, to be honest, I was a bit confused when I was going through this as to where some of these numbers came from. Specifically, this property has been before the board in the past, when they originally put a second-story addition on it, and at the time, the setbacks listed were slightly different at the very least. It was granted a front yard setback of 7.7. At no point did the house go to 4.2, so I'm not really understanding, how did we get to that? And part of my confusion here is that looking at the plan that was submitted and looking at the survey that was submitted, those setbacks don't seem to agree with each other either. So I don't know what's changing that's making it appear to be closer, or if there's something I'm missing there.
Is it possible that the measurement was taken to the eave of the new roof line?
Well, the 4.2 came off of an older survey, okay, which is this survey that's here.
But you submitted a newer survey.
Yes, there is a newer survey in the package.
So we probably should have used those dimensions, right?
Is that the June 17th, 2024 survey? The newest one? The latest and greatest?
June 17, 24, yes. Lisa McQuilkin.
Yeah, and those setbacks are different than the ones listed on the plan. So I didn't know if there was actually, because it didn't sound like there was a proposal to actually come closer than existing necessarily, except for maybe, as she was mentioning, maybe like the eaves of like a roof line situation. But the implication here is that it is coming closer, and I couldn't understand why.
Do you have the detailed plan that,
Mr. Casetta, can I recommend that you take an adjournment and figure out your numbers and come back?
To be clear, I am looking at the detail plan where it says 4.2 and 6.1.
Right.
I'm just looking at those same positions on the survey done this year, and those numbers are different,
It may
and the
be
same
to your-
points.
Your advantage, because we're kind of in between surveys, in between numbers, and we don't want to base our decision on something that may be inaccurate, that could hurt you.
We also don't want to give you not enough and you have to come back and ask for more, or deny you because you're asking for more than you actually need. I think it's to your benefit to sharpen your pencils, figure out where we are, and let's revisit this in the meeting. Because as of right now, I have no idea what we're talking about.
We're all a little confused. And we
Okay.
want to be accommodating. Most boards just say deny and resubmit.
yeah,
But we're not like most boards.
okay. Okay,
I think it's your advantage.
all right.
I mean, if you
We'll-
want to proceed, we can.
Do we
I don't think
discuss
it'll go
the
very
fence?
far.
All right, I hear you, so we'll adjourn. Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Application's adjourned.
Does January 7 work for you? January 7, that's our first hearing of next year. Great. Application number 666-24, adjourned from October 22nd, 2024. James and Denise St. John, permission to erect second-story addition leaving front yard of 32 feet and roofed-over porch leaving front yard of 26 feet instead of required 40 feet each, one-story addition leaving side yard of 11.6 feet instead of required 14 feet, and cellar entrance leaving side yard of 7.44 feet instead of required 14 feet, all having total side yards of 11.44 feet instead of required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 30% instead of permitted 20%. Residence A District, west side of Bayview Avenue, 821.65 feet south of Middle Road, Bayport. Gonna need a minor amendment, but I'll get to it.
Good evening. Christopher Ang, 83 East Main Street, Patchogue, New York. This case was before the board some weeks ago. Since then, we have revised the proposed additions to conform more closely to the zoning code, and also what I just submitted was a previous decision on the property. So that decision was approved by the board, and the numbers that we're proposing is very close to that previous decision of the board. That I just want to clarify that decision that was previously approved was not built, so we're trying to conform to that decision on this new proposal.
Do you want to amend the call?
No, I do not.
Yeah, you do.
Oh.
Wait,
Okay.
in amending and changing the application from the last time to this time, the call of the meeting was supposed to include an egress window. So
okay.
the place where the amendment is necessary is after cellar entrance.
Okay.
So side yard, cellar, so if the board could just amend it to say cellar entrance and egress window.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to, do you have any questions about the project?
We cut them down a little, so they never.
This wasn't built.
No, we cut them down a little bit, so they never built them, they just moved.
Do you want to present any of this, or do you want?
I can, would you like me to go through the, yes? Okay.
Well, let me just ask, Nick, is there anything here that's problematic?
I don't believe there
No,
is.
it looks pretty standard fare. I mean, 30% is right on.
Yeah.
Mr. Ang gets it.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else here who would like to be heard on this matter? No? Okay. Then no questions from the board?
No questions.
No? All right, I'll take a motion. All in favor? Aye. Application is granted as amended.
Thank you.
Application number 769-24, Globus Solutions, Inc. Permission to erect two-story and second-story additions, leaving side yards of 19.58 feet and 18 feet instead of required 25 feet each, and total side yards of 37.58 feet instead of required 60 feet. Residence AAA District, west side of South Montgomery Avenue, 300 feet south of Montauk Highway, Bay Shore.
Good evening. My name is Sham Haq. I live at 474 Kaim Avenue, West Islip. And I'm here to represent Global Solution Inc. About 16 South Montgomery, Bay Shore.
Okay, thank you. Planning, you have any comments on this?
So the things being requested here, two things to note about it. One, they are existing setbacks. And two, and I believe even more importantly, this lot and many of the lots around it, they're in the AAA zoning district, which is why they're being held to 25. They're all sized to be AA, and they rest adjacent to other AA zoning behind them. It's, in fact, exactly cooperative with AA in terms of its lot size, 20,000 square feet, half of what would be required for AAA. Given that, I think it's more reasonable to treat them as if they were a AA lot. Them and all of their immediate neighbors are in the same boat in that sense. Given that, those setbacks would usually be 18 feet, not 25. So this would be well in keeping with the size of their lot that they have been dealt with. And I think based on that situation, that this is a grantable application.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to grant the application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Application number 770-24, William and Jean Barry. Permission to erect second-story addition, 27.8 by 35.8 irregular, and one-story addition, 14.3 by 15.9, leaving side yard of 8.8 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 21.9 feet instead of required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 31.4% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, west side of 3rd Avenue, 150 feet north of 1st Street, Bayport.
Good evening. My name is William Barry, and my wife Jean and I have lived at 418 3rd Avenue in Bayport since 1986 and raised 4 kids there. This is Kelly Bennett from our architectural firm for some of the technical questions. What I want to do is kind of give you the reasoning behind what we're doing. Jean, in fact, is not here tonight because she's with her mother at her house because her mother is immobile and only can be on the first floor of her house. As part of that, we've come to realize the inadequacy of not having either toilet or shower facilities can be pretty devastating to the quality of life. We are both over 70 and retired. Our bathroom is also small. So the point we're trying to do is we wanted to make the bedroom that's next door to the current bathroom and make it a walk-in shower area and more senior accessible. As part of that, we wanted to extend the house a little bit so that they will match up what's currently there. There's this little gap right now, and then square off the house basically. And that would become some additional dining room living space. Because we're losing the bedroom, we look to make 2 bedrooms upstairs. One would obviously be for us. The second is really not just to have the grandkids over, but we have a son who's having some financial issues, and God forbid, if he'd have to come home, that's the only place we would be able to put him. I know that it's in excess of the requirement, but it's no taller than many of the houses in our neighborhood. The improvements would all be in the backyard and not be changing the face value to the street. And there'll be extra benefits like The entire infrastructure will be redone for better electricity, plumbing, et cetera. And, ultimately, you guys would collect more taxes, so I guess that's a good thing, too. But anyway, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you. Planning, do you have any comments?
In looking at this, one of the first questions the board always asks when a FAR grant of over 30% is being requested is whether or not it's been granted before. I could not find anything in this case, unfortunately.
Nick, I'm sorry, can you speak up? I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
Sure.
can't hear
The really quick version is that 30% has been held in this neighborhood to the best of my knowledge. As far as the side yard goes, as he mentioned, it is existing. It is existing at a 1.5-story height. They have like a notch in the back corner of their area that they're trying to fill in effectively to match the existing wall, as he explained already. I don't really have much more to say about it than that.
Yep. We really do appreciate the board's time and consideration. Oh, Kelly Bennett, 1257 Udall Road, Bayshore, New York, 11706. So as Mr. Barry said, this is, the intention behind the application. The second floor addition, similar as you heard tonight in other cases, it is a dormer, a rear dormer. Basically, we know the board's position on the 30%, so we were trying to play with some numbers as best we could today. So we can absolutely meet the 30% requirement. So that was a simple fix. We would appreciate the board's consideration on the non-conforming setbacks. Architecturally speaking, it gets very difficult to pay extra mind to the non-conforming setback with the dormer, and aesthetically. So that is the proposal as of, for this evening, and we could happily do the 30%.
I mean, that would depend on where they're taking that from necessarily. To reiterate, 8.8 is the current existing side yard for the house. It's currently at a 1.5-story. I think I don't know how much higher it's actually getting necessarily, maybe a few feet maybe.
That is correct. So it's a 1.5. Basically, we're proposing the front dormer. That area would be open to below inside, and this is a rear door. Essentially, it's a rear dormer. We're dormering out the rear of the house. So we're meeting all height requirements.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application? No? Okay, then I'll take a motion. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank
Application is
you.
granted at 30%.
Application number 771-24, Howard Rowland and Erin Rowland. Permission to erect one-story addition 10 by 32, leaving front yard of 31.8 feet instead of required 40 feet, and second-story addition 13 by 20, leaving floor area ratio of 26% instead of permitted 25%, and to install pool patio, leaving side yard of 4 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence A District, west side of Connecticut Road, 516.09 feet south of Middle Road, Bayport.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Deborah Yelvington of Dynamic Permits. Office is located at 732 Smithtown Bypass, Suite A53, Smithtown, New York 11787. Here as agent for the owners, Howard Rowland and Erin Rowland Hennessy, who have been owners since 2006. This original home was built and CO'd in 1955. We are before the board to request that reduced front yard setback for a proposed addition, and that would be for a kitchen extension in the front and a mudroom and a front porch, and also for the reduced side yard for the patio alongside a proposed pool, and for a proposed second floor addition, which exceeds the FAR.
Could you tell us, you're seeking 31.8 instead of 40, which is not as significant or substantial as some of the others you're seeing today. But can you tell us what is the nature and character of the neighborhood? What does it hold? Are there other 31.8s?
Yes. And can I submit extra photos there that,
Well, not photos, photos of ZBA decisions?
and I have surveys of those other properties? Can I list them for you, and then I will give you the,
No, but did you hear the question of Mr.
The-
Collier?
yeah.
Do you have ZBA?
In this neighborhood,
do you have
there's-
Wait, just one second. Only one of us at a time. Do you have ZBA decisions, or are these just photographs to say, oh, look?
We have ZBA decisions for at least 3 homes on Bayview Avenue, right behind the subject property.
And what is the setback for their front yard?
Number 23 Bayview Avenue, second floor addition at 27.1 front yard setback. Number 46 Bayview Avenue, first floor addition was approved for 36 front yard setback. And 84 Bayview Avenue for a second floor addition at a 30-foot front yard setback. And they also requested tonight for the 26-foot front yard for the porch and a second floor addition at 32 feet at that 84 Bayview.
So you have one at 27 and one at 30. Correct. The 36 is great.
27, 36, and 30.
Well, 36 is not helping you because you want less than.
Okay.
Planning, what's your opinion on this?
So to start with, I would agree with the things that she brought up there as far as the previous cases. I found the same. One of the quirks with this area and the quirk with the zoning code is in Residence A, if you have a 100-foot lot width, you only need to hold a 30-foot front yard to be considered conforming, as opposed to 40. And this neighborhood is mixed in that sense, where there are several 100-foot wide lots that are closer to 30-foot front yards that don't have ZBA grants because they don't need them, including actually the property directly next door and another one diagonally across the street. Both are 100-foot lot width, both are closer to 30-foot front yard, and both don't have ZBA because it's just not required. They're all the same zoning designation. It's a unique exception in Residence A. Given that, I would say the nature and character of the neighborhood can support a 30-foot front yard in this area.
No questions.
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Please come up.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Seglio, 64 Connecticut Road, Bayport, New York, 11705. I am the neighbor directly to the north of the proposed addition of the property. I'm here to state my opposition to the application to erect a one-story addition and all the other setback requirements. The subject property has been in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals several times over the years, requesting appeals for non-standard side yard to erect a wider driveway nearest to my property, patios, 3 sheds, chicken coop, to name a few, which have all been approved in the past. The variance approved for the driveway allowed it to be 3 foot from the property instead of the required 4 feet. When it was built, the driveway elevation increased, creating an 8 to 10 inch unfinished concrete Belgian block footing on the north side of the property next to my house. That was never backfilled. When I confronted the homeowner at the time, they said it looked okay from their side and left it. Over the past several years, the house has been in constant renovation, dumpsters located on the driveway for weeks at a time, resulting in construction debris on my property. I installed trees 2 years ago just to block the view and just prevent the debris from coming onto my side. As a result of the driveway being closer to the property line, the homeowners place their garbage cans at the end of the driveway and in front of my property and leave them there sometimes for several days. In addition, the once one-story home has become a 2+ story home. Not long after the 2-story renovation was complete, spotlights were installed on the north and west side of the property about 15 feet above the ground. Spotlights face my property and light up my house and backyard. Lights are left on all night, shine onto my children's bedrooms. Again, mentioned it to the homeowner who turned them off for a couple of days, and then they're on constantly. They also have lighting in the front of their house, which lights up my neighbor's yard, 84-year-old neighbor across the street, in complete disregard of their privacy. Now they plan on adding a 2-story addition. I'm not sure exactly where, but I can only guess it's on the south side of the house where they, north side of the house where they have room to do it behind the driveway. Again, much closer than would normally be allowed. I don't feel that this should be approved for the reasons that I just mentioned. My wife is also here, who has something that the neighbor across the street also would like us to read into the record.
Hi, Caroline Seglio, 64 Connecticut Road, Bayport, New York, 11705. Deanna Lytle, who lives across the street, directly across the street with the side yard that is, I guess, ZBA, whatever that was. I don't know what that means. But the big house directly across from them and the house directly south of them they were both built in the 1800s. And those houses were moved onto those properties a long time ago, probably before the zoning became what it is. Deanna is the one directly across. She asked if I could submit her questions. I don't know if that's proper or not. You want me to read them? Okay. She wrote that, I'm sorry I could not be here in person tonight. However, I do have a few questions for the board. A neighbor is present to hear the answers. That would be us. The first of the 3 major questions. Number 1, how many variances are a homeowner permitted, and is there a terminal number?
No.
No? No terminal number? Okay.
No terminal.
Number 2, what is the board's view when each succeeding variance, for example, the driveway moving over, coming closer to the neighbor, sheds that are on the property line, chicken coops, patios, etc., are pushed to the absolute limits of the property lines and very near, or thereupon on top of the neighbors.
I would say it depends on the totality of the circumstances based on the factors set forth in Town Law 267B.
267B, okay. And the next one is, what is the board's duty to the surrounding properties?
I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear what is the board's duty?
Oh, what is the board's duty to the surrounding properties that abut these variances that were given?
We are required to weigh the benefit to the applicant against the adverse effects or the detriment to the neighbor based on and considering the 5 factors set forth in Town Law 267B.
Okay, so those were her questions, so I'll relate that back to her. Thank you.
That was the law. He's good.
You trained him well. Okay, so we're directly north to their property. We've been living there for 32 years. They've been living there for 18. We've been good neighbors. They've been good neighbors. But we've never questioned like their expansion and the things that are going on. But it just seems like it's getting excessive. And when you look at it in comparison to the houses around us on our block, not Bayview. Bayview has much tighter property lines. Well, our property is 75 by 125. I don't think their property is much bigger than ours. And they're putting on a house that they've got, which is fine, but they just keep adding to it. And it just is becoming excessive, and it seems like it's encroaching closer to our property line. And we've done things to try to, nullify it and make it, tolerable. But this just seems, we don't even know where is this extension going? Is it going on the north side of the house, or is it going on the south?
We'll get that. We'll get that. You will be in the dark no longer.
Okay.
Where is it going?
Can I show them the rendering?
Sure.
Could you also state it out loud so everybody can know?
Yes. The existing home has 2 gables on the 2nd floor, so it's a 1.5-story house existing. The proposed renovation on the 2nd floor, the addition for a bedroom, is going to be filling in between on the 2nd floor between the 2 gables. The extension on the 1st floor is only out front, 10 feet for the kitchen and a mudroom to come out and a front porch.
So it'll be going on the south side of the house.
So this is the front, which is the east.
They're talking about here, here, not over here.
Nothing on the,
Not-
nothing on the
our
sides.
side, okay.
Correct.
There's
And the,
not-
and the plot plan submitted does show a 4-foot setback as a new setback for the driveway. So if it wasn't, the old survey doesn't say quite, but they're proposing 4 feet. So, and that's compliant. Yeah,
Well, they
unless
had
it's
gotten a
not 4
variance
and they
for it.
had to pull it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which they might have, I
Right.
don't know.
Can I submit these to the board?
Sure.
Yeah, then do I?
You can just give them,
Okay.
Jay? He left. Yes, you can submit them.
I think we have an understanding of what's going on.
And there's
Just-
no chicken coop, there's a temporary greenhouse that's being removed, there's a small shed that's going to come off the property line, so I'm not clear where those other accessory
All right, so-
structures that they obviously have seen in the past, but
Couple questions. First off, the chicken coop is removed?
it's not there on the plot plan, it's not on the
Right.
survey that I see,
I know that was, the
updated survey.
chicken coop and the greenhouse is
Unless-
going to be removed?
It's not this, right?
There is, okay. Wait,
So this is being removed, and this is the little shed that's proposed to stay, but off the property line.
So it's going to be moved in further closer to theirs.
Both.
Does it-
It's a 2-foot minimum requirement, and they're a few inches short of that.
And what did you say about the
And
driveway?
those 2 sheds are going down? These are coming down?
This is not on the plot plan, not part of the future, correct?
And what did you say about the driveway?
It's proposed on the plot plan at a 4-foot setback on that north side.
So that will comply?
Sorry?
It'll comply with the
To
code?
comply.
Right, okay. And can we get
It
the...
is not, it's not currently.
So they're proposing to do that,
Yeah.
4 feet then. That should make you happy.
That should be yeah, that should be part of the,
Yeah.
that's part of what'll be approved then, right?
Yep, that's what their application is.
Okay.
Can you
Right.
please give us the name and the address of the woman who asked those questions?
In the letter.
The letter.
Oh, yes. I think she gave it to me. Yes, she gave it to you. Do you want me to say it?
You can say it on the record.
That's fine.
It's Deanna Lytell, Lytell, 77 Connecticut Road, Bayport, New York, 11705.
Okay, thank you.
This is the floor plan of the front kitchen,
Is there anyone else who
mudroom.
would like to be heard in this application?
Yeah.
Can I add anything else? Oh.
Is there something else you'd like?
Yes. Just for the nature and character of the neighborhood. Number 64 Connecticut Road exists with a 24.69 front yard setback. Number 77 Connecticut Road, I think that neighbor's front yard is 10.5 foot setback. And 78 Connecticut Road, which is the 3-story house adjacent on the other side to the subject property, is 21.3 front yard setback. So what we're proposing at the 31.8 is yards and yards more than what's existing right around the subject property. And we're only
Thank you.
coming out with that first floor. It's not a 2-story addition. It's just the kitchen, mudroom extension, front porch at 106 square feet. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, I'll take a motion into reserve. Second, all in favor? Aye. Reserve. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Can I just clarify?
No, we,
Okay.
we've already,
All right.
we can't allow it, because we closed the hearing.
Not yet.
We have a request to adjourn the next application. Is anybody, I forgot to tell you, anybody here on the application of Robert and Christine Nyholm? They've asked for a hearing in late January, since we're not sure of our dates yet.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Application's adjourned. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, Nyholm. Application number 588-24, adjourned from October 22nd, 2024. Linda Gassell, Carney Koppelman, permission to leave 2-story addition, 21.1 by 32.8, having side yard of 10.9 feet instead of required 18 feet, and front yard of 29.7 feet instead of required 40 feet. Garage door having height of 10 feet instead of permitted 8 feet. pergola on-side property line not having a required setback of 4 feet, and pond in front yard when only permitted in rear yard. Residence AA District, north side of Jane Road, 78.01 feet east of Woodbury Road, Hauppauge.
Good evening. Eric Koppelman, 49 Jane Road, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. I am Linda's current husband. I'm not here tonight to make excuses for the situation that we are dealing with right now, but I would appreciate the opportunity to give you a little bit of history of what the situation is. When this work was done, it was back in 2001, Linda says. She was in an abusive relationship. The gentleman, Kirk Carney, who was her husband at that time, performed all the work that was done. And apparently he did it without proper channels, without using the way it should have been done. And we acknowledge that. At this point, coming to current, we were on vacation, and Linda's daughter, 21 years old, also having defiance syndrome, decided that she was going to start a dog walking business, which was okay as far as the dog walking was done in the neighborhood, since we live across the street from a park, and that wouldn't have been a problem. When we returned from vacation, there was a Casson trailer, an office trailer, sitting on the side of the house, the opposite side of the house from what is in question here, which of course set off flags in the neighborhood and made us Macy's window for an issue. We've cooperated with code enforcement and taken care. Within 2 weeks after that trailer was sitting there, I made sure that the trailer was gone. Anything else that code enforcement had or issues they had, we took care of it. And at this point, I don't know what else I could say, ladies and gentlemen. My wife, Linda, she couldn't really get involved as far as the abusive relationship with either her daughter or her ex-husband. Any type of issue that could have caused a domestic disturbance of the house could have affected her job. She is a 26-year New York State court officer and a 9/11 survivor.
Why don't we hear from
So anything that
planning?
I'm sorry, sir.
Why don't we hear from planning, and they can give us some facts that we'll need to address?
I'm sorry. This is my gun here. I can't.
We're going to hear from planning.
Oh, yes, sir.
Planning?
So this is this property has a bit of a history with the board, in fact. It was here before the board in 2001, asking for very similar relief. They were denied for a 2-story addition, roofed-over porch, leaving front yard of 29 and side yard of 11.8. To the best that I can tell, they were denied from the board, and then effectively that exact addition was just built anyway and has existed for 20 years. I don't really know how you get past that. It was considered before and it was denied at the time. Difficult circumstances notwithstanding, I don't know if there's much reason to revise that previous decision in this case. And it's the best of my knowledge, it is effectively the same addition that was considered before.
That's our problem.
I'm sorry, sir.
Did you hear what the planning department said?
I couldn't hear it without the microphone. I'm sorry. I heard what he said a little bit, yes.
How do you
He
address
said he
that?
couldn't get past the fact that it was previously denied.
Correct.
Understood.
Yeah, that's our problem. The same application was denied 23 years ago, and the then property owners, whoever it was, went and built it anyway.
Right, that was Kirk, her ex-husband. Yes.
Well, it doesn't matter who, it exists. So we can't approve it when we denied it. That would be a mockery of all of our pride. Then everybody would just go home and say, great, we're going to go build what we want.
Understood.
So there's no way legally we can grant it. It's been denied. And they went and built it anyway. Unfortunately, you're stuck.
So where do we go from here?
To clarify, the addition was denied before, the 2-story addition. There are some other things here that were not previously considered, like the pond and I think the pergola. It's the addition that was already previously denied with very similar relief requested. I think it's like decimal points away from each other.
So that's the 2-story addition?
Yeah, the denial that I've written down here is denied 2-story addition and roofed over porch, leaving a front yard of 29 and side yard of 11.8. Again, those numbers are now slightly different. The side yard is 10.9 is listed, the front yard is 29.7 instead of 29.1. It's effectively the same thing. It's located in the same location.
So we can
Small
grant-
differences in measurements.
Hold on, the garage.
But there's other things here that were not previously considered.
Go ahead. So what about the garage door of 10 feet?
It's not something we'd normally grant, and the garage door is in the addition that was built. So it kind of goes with the addition.
How deep is the pond?
It looks to be a small water feature next to their front stoop. I don't know if we have a picture of it.
It's an inactive, it was built as a pond, but it's an inactive pond at this point. In other words, he built a pond there off the porch area with the rocks coming down.
If I recall correctly, it's elevated off the ground somewhat.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
The driveway used to be a circular driveway, and that driveway was removed. This was Linda's grandparents' house from way back when.
The pond is then, Nick, the pond you have no problems with?
I can't get street view up right now to show it, but from what I recall, it was elevated off the ground to a point where I don't think it would be a concern for somebody to fall in and, get in trouble, which is the main concern with these sorts of features within front yards.
What about the pergola? Pergola. Pergola. We okay with that?
It's a small part of this in the grand scheme of things.
So the pergola and the pond we're okay with. All right. So anyone else would like to be heard in this application? No, okay. I'll take a motion on.
I'll make a motion to deny so much of the application for permission to leave a two-story addition having a side yard of 10.9 feet instead of the required 18 feet, and a front yard of 29.7 feet instead of the required 40 feet, and also the garage door having a height of 10 feet instead of the permitted 8 feet, but to grant the balance of the application.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Application's denied in part and granted the balance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 773-24, Elmer Leon and Carlos Montoya Rodriguez. Permission to leave second-story addition having front yard of 19.7 feet instead of required 25 feet, and floor area ratio of 28.7% instead of required permitted 25%. Shed having second front yard of 3.9 feet instead of required 20 feet, and on rear property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and driveway having front yard occupancy of 61.7% instead of permitted 40%. Residence B District, southeast corner of Roosevelt Boulevard and Cortelyou Avenue, Islip.
Good evening. My name is Salim Abraham. I reside at 254-10 Francis Lewis Boulevard, Rosedale, New York, 11422. I hope everybody is well tonight. This application regards the owner bought the house in August, and he created a second story above the existing garage. On the proposed drawings, we're not extending the first floor. We just extend the second floor to align with the house front yard setback that was existing. So that's something that we try to get it granted in regard to the existing condition, even though that this property do have a separate quarter, and we're trying to resolve it by going to the zoning board of appeals. The shed, in regard to the shed, is existing when he bought the house, and the driveway was existing. From my previous experience with the board, I believe the 42% of front yard setback area calculation for the driveway, that was the maximum that was allowed, but when he bought the house, it was 61%. So I'm here to see what we can resolve regarding the existing condition of this property. Thank you.
So the code was amended, I guess about a year and a half ago, to allow 42%?
Yeah, 42.
What's the maximum?
I'm sorry, what's the
40,
question?
40.
40, yes,
It
correct.
used to be 35.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yes, it's
typically the
40%.
board would go to 40. I think that's what you're recalling?
Correct, yes.
Now
But-
40 is permitted.
Correct.
So where do we go to now?
I don't know. Did you offer?
No, because what happened in the previous application I did before, the board allowed me to go to 42%.
Right, so are you offering to amend it?
Yes, for 61 to 42.
40?
We'll go to 45.
We'll give you 45.
That's great.
All right. Good job.
We're
Good
great.
job.
We are great. I want that for the record.
Planning, any comments on the balance of the application?
Regarding the shed in the second front yard, I've looked at it. It's not really that intrusive on the road, and in this case, the second front yard in question is a dead-end road that only has 2 other houses on there. So in actuality, it's not really affecting a very large amount of people, and I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Okay. And everything else is,
I think everything else was fine. Yeah.
okay. Any other questions from the board? No questions. Is anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? No, okay, I'll take a motion, please. Islip.
I'll make a motion that we deny so much of the application seeking
61, yep. That's the way he does it.
61.7 instead of 40, but grant graciously 45, and grant the remainder of the application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. That's fine. Application number 774-24, Home Dream Builders LLC. Permission to subdivide lot into 3 parcels. Lot 1 and Lot 2, to erect 2-story dwelling on lot having area of 14,400 square feet instead of required 20,000 square feet each. And Lot 3, to leave dwelling on conforming parcel. Residence AA District, northwest corner of Amityville Street and Connecticut Avenue, Islip Terrace.
Good evening again. My name is Salim Abraham. I reside at 54-10 Francis Lewis Boulevard, Rosedale, New York, 11422. So the owner wanted to divide this lot. They only had 1 house already into 3 lots. Okay. Okay. So the owner wanted to divide this lot in 3 parts. You have an existing house already, and the other 2 lots will be undersized. Will be 96 feet by 150. That will give you the 14,400 square feet that's required. We did already process to the Board of Health for subdivision. The process, it was approved for the upgrade for the system to be able to complete the subdivision with the Board of Health. So we do have a partial approval for the Board of Health regarding that subdivision with them. And regarding to the remaining 6,000 square feet that we're missing for the lots, the owner already purchased TDR credits to comply with the missing area regarding those.
Can I just ask you, maybe we could really help you and get right to the chase here.
Okay.
You're seeking 2 lots of 14,000 square feet instead of 20. Yes?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us what is the nature and character of the neighborhood? How many other 14.4s are there?
So with the radius map that was provided,
Yes.
the smaller lots I have with the 500-foot radius is on 246 Amityville Avenue, and that one is 15,000 square feet.
How many?
15,000.
15.
15,000 square feet.
So
That's
we
two-
have
that-
one,
that- yeah.
we have one so far, but it's not 14.4.
Correct.
What's the next best one you have?
Though, ones I was focusing more on the width of the lots, because I don't see it on the proposal here. The lot will be 96.
No, but let's just keep it in line. We were talking about FAR.
Okay.
You have one at 15,000.
Correct, yes.
What else do you have to tell us?
I have nothing else. I have nothing else.
Oh. None.
Planning, do you have any?
Not really. I looked through, there's these 2 lots right here that are obviously small and skinny, but going down, especially because of the great depth that a lot of these lots have, most of these are actually oversized. They have conforming lot widths, and they're usually around 30,000 where 20,000 is required. I don't really see a very strong argument for nature and character for having substandard lots here. And they could divide this property into 2 and have both be conforming.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Not really, no.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application?
Good evening, my name is Jamie Kaiser. I live at 276 Amityville Street, you want to introduce yourself? I can be very loud. All right, I'm Jamie Kaiser, 276 Amityville Street. I have a petition for my whole block because they were doing for Heather her birthday candlelight, which I'm sure you all are aware of Heather. So none of them could be here. As you all are aware, you can see my property, you can see across the street. There's one house there. I see it every day. I look out my window. There's no way you can put 3 houses on there. There's an in-ground pool that's filled in with leaves. Nobody takes care of the property. They bought it a few years ago. It's every property pretty much on that block is all wide, 1.5 acres. They're all families. It's a busy corner. I have 3 little kids. I don't want a Nassau County kind of environment when all these houses around this block are all over 1 acre. To squeeze in 2 more houses on a property, you're putting more electric, your grid system, you have everything else. We don't have sewers. So it's not something that people should just say, okay, let's put it through.
I think planning agrees with you, so.
Thank you.
Oh, well, then I don't have to say.
Well, you can introduce yours.
My name is Grace Iadanza, 822 Kennequot Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York. That's my house right there. Oh, well, 822, right there.
It's the really big lot across the street.
Yeah.
But you feel the same way the...
I absolutely agree with
We get
her.
it, thank you. We get it.
I would be okay with 1 house.
One
more.
All right, that's...
So 2 total.
Right.
There is an existing house and an additional house.
To be clear, they don't need a variance to do that. That's, yeah.
Right, yep.
Right, but
Okay.
Can I give you the petition?
You can submit the petition.
Sure.
Would you like me to hand to the officer?
Yes.
Thank
Can
you.
you hand it to Rusty, please?
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
You can come up, don't be shy.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Oh. Okay, that's good.
Show your name.
My name is Mark Dudenhofer. My name is Mark Dudenhofer. I currently reside at 287 Amityville Street. I'm the one taking care of Kennequot Avenue, the corner of the bushes, the property. I'm taking care of the leaves. Unfortunately, the pool's a little too deep for me right now. But, you know, I mow the lawn, I rake the leaves. Right now, I'm fostering 3 children. It's what I got. Thank you for your time.
Somebody else.
No further comments.
Hello, Board and Chairman, everybody. This is Mike DeFeeti. I'm Home Dream Builders. I've been in business for 40 years, and Mark Dudenhofer is my son-in-law. He was a vet for 15 years. I'm trying to get this thing approved for them to make their house more affordable. And as all the neighbors are saying, these lots are 100 feet wide by 150, okay? And the frontage of that whole piece is 346 feet, is it, Celine? 346 feet. So if I knock down the existing house, I could get closer to what it is. But the existing house is where I'm trying to put the vet and my daughter. And that's why we're trying to make this conform and work. We did buy the land credit to make the area what it's supposed to be. That's why the health department approved it at the 20,000 square feet. And we do have 96-foot frontages on all the 2 lots that are existing. I could make them 100-foot frontage by taking 10 feet off of the existing house, but I figured let it conform and leave them with a little bigger feet because the lot is plenty big enough at 96. I built plenty of homes in my time. I'm retired and I'm damaged spine, but I'm trying to get them as a vet in a house. So I hope that there's anything else I could say. I would love to do that.
I would just like to clarify, the issue here is the lot area rather than the lot width. A lot of those properties are a 100-foot lot width, but they're 300 feet deep. So they have a total of 30,000 square feet. The issue you're having here is more so that as compared to a lot of the other properties in this area, which go much more to the center line of their block. This is, I guess you could say, shallower. It's not really the lot width that's the issue here. It's the overall square footage of the proposed subdivision is what's in question. That's where the 14,000 comes in, and that's not very well supported by the neighborhood.
I thought when we had talked that we fell under the Heckscher State taking of the land that they did when they performed the Heckscher State Park, that they took a lot of land up Connecticut, or maybe that was the health department? I'm sorry.
I'm not really sure. I did not speak with anybody about
But we
this.
did buy the land credit of 31,000 square feet to make them all conform. So,
Are you talking about a health department issue?
no, the land credit from
Right, that would be with the
TRW.
health department.
health Yeah, department. That's for the health
We're talking about a separate
So
issue.
the yous went and look at that land credit for nothing. Uh-oh. I seen a lot
That
of
has,
these.
no, that has nothing to do with what we do. That's for health department issues.
Yeah, that's the county health department, which does require 20,000 for non-sewered areas. What's being addressed here is based on the zoning designation, you're supposed to have 20,000 square feet. They happen to be the same number, but they're totally different laws and different departments and different agencies, in fact.
So we don't have none. Okay,
Your lot width is 96 feet, correct?
96, yes.
Because that's not in the call of the meeting. You need 100, correct, Lenny?
Yeah,
Yes, they would.
yeah, I'm not sure if,
So we don't have that in the call of the meeting.
so we're going to
We're
amend
going
the
to
call of
amend
the
the
meeting.
call to add that.
Okay, so we would do that, but we would take the 10 feet off of the existing house, which then I would need the side yard variance from 18.
No.
Mr. DeFede, at that point, where you're changing the whole scope of the application, what they're suggesting is instead of doing it that way, changing lot lines around, which you can do later if you'd like, but right now, we're just gonna add an additional variance to the call of the meeting, so it would say instead of 100 foot wide, it's 96 feet wide. It seems like a scrivener's error to leave it out.
I got you. Little rusty. It's been a while.
So I'm going to make a motion to amend the call of the meeting, requesting a lot width of 96 feet instead of required 100 feet.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So the meeting's been, the call has been updated. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? No. You've already spoken.
Yes.
Something,
No, we have to kind of wrap it up, so.
go ahead.
Well, okay, so that's why I wanted to talk, and regarding the width of the lot, 96 to 96.
We took care of that.
Okay, so
That's
that's.
taken
okay.
care of.
Now, the thing is, what one of the owner was saying about the lot to be 1 acres, 1.5 acres, you have 1, 2, 3, you got 4 lots, there is half an acre, and one is 18,000 square feet, that is less than half an acre. So you do have lots.
We're aware of the size of the actual size
Okay.
of the lots.
So I will make sure I clarify that with the board and everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, at that point, I'll take a motion to reserve.
I'll make a motion to reserve decision.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Reserve decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 775-24, Jose Ventura, permission to leave one-story addition attaching formerly detached garage and to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Town Code Section 68-601, leaving side yard of 3.7 feet instead of required 14 feet, and total side yards of 23.4 feet instead of required 28 feet, and to leave driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and front yard occupancy of 45% instead of permitted 40%. Residence AA District, south side of Candlewood Road, 320.46 feet east of Stein Drive, Bay Shore.
Good evening. My name is Roxana Escobar.
Please speak into the microphone, ma'am.
Pardon.
Thank you.
Roxana Escobar and Emer Canales. We are the architects for the project, 15 Sites Avenue, Hempstead, New York, 11550. We're here representing Mr. Ventura, who's the owner. So Mr. Ventura has, this is where it all started. He has a garage where he built an accessory apartment in there. So in order for us to comply, we had to add an addition, a one-story addition, and attach it to the main dwelling in order for him to have an accessory apartment inside the garage. The existing garage doesn't comply with the setbacks, but that has been, I believe that has been as when the house was built.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When, at least we look at a survey and we see a structure 3.7 from the property line instead of 14. It wasn't built with the benefit of a permit. It was just built.
There's nothing on record, yes.
So how do we square that?
I believe it was built. There's just no record within the town.
No, we know it's built, but it didn't have a permit.
I have to clarify.
Doesn't have a CO.
So for clarification, the addition connecting the formerly detached garage to the house has not been built yet, correct?
No, it has not. That's
So-
something that we propose.
Right. So I wish when public notices were prepared and sent, people would let us know then that there's an inaccuracy in the public notice. But it's to erect a one-story addition attaching garage to dwelling.
Yes,
But-
we're rectifying the,
Mary, if I can ask,
The
how
violations.
did this one-story frame and vinyl building get built at 3.7 feet?
It was a detached garage, an accessory structure. It's likely on the
Okay,
CO.
it was a garage and they
like to use-
converted
They would
it.
like to legalize its use as an accessory apartment, but to do so, they'd have to connect to the
Right.
house because we don't permit them in detached structures.
Right, yeah, that's something we never, ever permit. A garage is one thing, living space is I don't
Well-
think we've ever granted.
understood. It's just that it's an economic hardship when the property owner,
Almost every case we hear, it's some form of economic hardship.
I understand.
We would throw zoning out the window, and it would look literally like not even Queens, Brooklyn, if everybody, so that's not one of the tests that the law allows us to use.
Yes, but because that garage was built detached, as of right, he's not allowed to have an accessory apartment there. So what would, for future people, owners, how would they come about that then to ever have an accessory apartment?
You have
It's just
to have,
something with the code.
you have to have the appropriate and lawful space to do it. You can't convert a garage and say, I want to use it as an accessory apartment. The law doesn't provide that, and we've never granted that.
Okay.
And we've denied plenty of these in the past, and we'll probably deny plenty in the future. Unfortunately, I understand the problem.
Good evening, Emir Canales with Conscape Architects, and you actually made a good point about a hardship. The case that we're representing is particularly unique. Mr. Jose Ventura is an elderly man. He pretty much is helping a family member building this or keeping this accessory apartment. He doesn't have any ways to earn any.
I know, but you have to understand, we can't base our decisions on hardship. It's got to be on the law.
So you are putting him on the line of losing his house and his family, a dwelling?
You heard what I said.
I did.
Good.
I did, but
Okay, we're on the same page.
the board is meant to alleviate hardships, not to make more hardships into citizens.
Not to make any fun or anything, but your client that's elderly was born in 1957. It's not really,
And he is disabled.
okay,
It's almost my
that's different.
age.
That's different.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he's elderly.
Okay, I'm good.
We're just laughing because he's about the same age as most of us, so we don't want to be called elderly. So the problem is we don't allow accessory apartments and detached accessory structures, as you know. There's been a lot of discussion all over Long Island about trying to approve ADUs and accessory structures, but it just hasn't happened yet. So you're trying to connect it and make it part of the house, but then the resultant side yard setback is just a very large relaxation that you're asking for.
Can I, just a quick question, just for my own. Let's say he takes down the garage. Garage goes away. Now, can we just put an addition to the house as such?
Sure.
It won't be a garage anymore. Would that be something that you would consider?
Well, provided you comply with the side yards.
With the
et cetera, then
setbacks
you
and
don't
all
have
of
to
that?
come to us.
Right.
Because
Or-
then we can
or
make
it's a
that
reasonable
disappear,
variance.
demo it.
It's just not reasonable.
You could just reconstruct the garage, provided you hold a 14-foot side yard and then connect it to the house. I don't know if it's structurally able to handle that, it might be easier to just take it down, like you
I
said.
think so too. Okay, that's for my own. Thank you so much.
Okay, as far as the driveway on the property, on the side property line, that's not a matter, right? You okay with that?
It'll be a moot point at this
Front
point.
yard
We'll
occupancy
take
of 45, Mr. McCabe?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
right where we need to be.
Okay, so I'll take a motion then.
No, no, no.
Want me to make? I'll make a motion that we deny so much of the application regarding the one-story addition attaching formerly detached garage and to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Town Code Section 68-601 and leaving side yard of 3.7 instead of required 14, a total side yard of 23.4 instead of required 28. We deny all of that and we approve the balance of the application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you so much.
Application number 776-24, Chauncey Barone, Inc., permission to expand parking lot of scrap metal yard resulting in expansion of nonconforming use by more than 25%. Industrial 1 District, east side of Lincoln Avenue, 1,559.56 feet north of Church Street, Holbrook.
Good evening. David Fallon, law offices of David P. Fallon, 53 Main Street, Sayville, New York, for the applicant. This is a fairly easy application. As you can see, it's up on Lincoln Avenue, a little south of what I used to call the dump. It's an existing scrap metal facility, about a 20,000 square foot building. As you can see from the picture, it was always used, that dirt area, for parking and trucks and whatnot. My client, who has recently purchased the corporation, decided that he wanted to make it better and put drainage and parking in and repair all the broken asphalt in that area. Our architect is here, who submitted to the site plan to planning, and lo and behold, they said, we need to come to you because by essentially making the dirt into pavement and putting in proper drainage, the planning department considered that an expansion of the existing non-conforming use. Mr. Wexler, good evening. I believe it's on the site plan that was submitted. Tom, do you know the exact numbers on the parking? Tom is the architect who did the site plan.
Hello, Tom.
I might be able to save some time on that one based on the calculations done in planning. It's a 180% increase.
180%.
I have a question for our esteemed council.
It's parking.
Our board's council. At what point does the expansion of a non-conforming use over 25% cease to be that and become a use variance? I think we're touching on it, to be honest.
Probably.
Also, it's always been used as parking. We're making it from dirt to pavement.
Again, just to clarify something, and I can actually demonstrate this, there was an originally approved site plan in 1971 for this place, which pretty much shows the existing parking lot as the dimensions. I can bring that up for everybody. And around, I'm about to show it to you. So this is what it looked like previously. This is as recent as 2001. You can see most of the lot is wooded. This is what it currently looks like. If it'll load.
The trees fell down, huh?
Oh, this is
Between 2001 and 2004, there was a large swath of the property that was illegally cleared. That is the dirt in question that they are putting their vehicles on, that they are now saying they're just trying to make better, but in fact,
Would it not have been better with trees on it?
I would say would have, it also would have been conforming to the approved plan.
There was also in 1975 a grant by this board of temporary outdoor storage, too.
For a period of 6 months.
Yeah, you mentioned that, hang on. We reviewed the record, and in 1975, the applicant, I think it's the same family.
We are not, that family has sold, so we're not related to that. Same entity.
The same entity, you stand in their shoes.
Yeah.
And that the applicant was emphatic that they would apply in 6 months, because that's why it was only temporary, to apply for a change of zone. So that would have been by the latest 76 and a half. We're now 24, almost 50 years later, and we're still waiting. I'm sure there's a clerk still waiting. And so let me ask Ms. Light, our esteemed counsel, what do we do? What do we do when an applicant makes a representation, something that's germane to the current, and they never did what they said they were going to do? How do we handle that? It's just one of the factors we have to consider.
And let me point out, right, that the stockholders at that time are not the stockholders of the corporation.
Yeah, but they stand in the,
I know, but just so we're clear.
So we have that issue we have to tackle. We have 180% expansion over 25%, and then we have this special exception determination at 68-416, which instructs us that it will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties or properties within the district. So this is a scrap yard process.
No, it's not a scrap
What is it?
yard. The building is a scrap metal facility that's been CO'd.
Well,
This is-
okay, and
Right, there is no outdoor storage, there's not an application for outdoor storage. It's just for the drainage and the parking. Application for outdoor storage would be a total different animal, and I believe the prior owner had tickets issued, which when my client became the owner, he cleaned up all those
When did your
tickets.
client become the owner?
Excuse me?
What year did your client become the owner in?
About 3 years ago.
But again, what do? We see it abuts a neighborhood. It's residential.
Well, we already have the buffer of, based on the site plan, Tom, I think the buffer is over 100 feet, of 100 feet.
And
it's been an existing use that's probably predates, given the length of time that Chauncey Brown has been there, probably predates that residential neighborhood.
What do they do with this application? What do they do? What do they do?
What does my client do?
I asked you first.
Inside the building, they do scrap metal.
And what do you mean I don't know when you say
When you say scrap metal, you take, say you have electronics, that machine or typewriters, you pull the stuff apart inside the building, you put it into various barrels, and then you come and you take it away in the aluminum, and away it goes. There's a bunch of scrapyard places all around this. I think Arrow's across the street. There's Crescent Metals is across the street. It's actually probably the most scrap metal in the town of Islip is on Lincoln Avenue.
Can I ask, what is the purpose of this expansion of the parking lot? It goes well beyond what's required in terms of the amount of parking for a building like this. Far beyond.
I think it's just because it was a mess when we bought it. You know, all that dirt, floods, right?
So why not propose to revegetate? It's not required for parking here. You need no parking relaxation. It goes, well far and beyond what's actually required.
You do need the ability to come in, trucks pick up the scrap metal.
Well, trucks have been picking up scrap metal here for over 50 years.
It's true, and they've been using that dirt parking lot is the point.
But
so we're trying to make it nicer and cleaner,
Here's our concern, and you can hear it in our questions, perhaps, is that it's 4, 5, 6 times the code which it permits, right? 180% is 25. You had an illegal clearing, which is not a good thing. you now have the illegal clearing where you diminished much of the buffer and say, oh, since now it's a mess, I'm using your terminology, now it's a mess, I simply want to pave it. I mean, that's like the person who burns down the house and says, now there's no house, so let me build a new house. You did the clearing wrongfully, and now you're saying, oh, look at the mess I created, so let me pave it.
Well, first of all,
That's
Mr.
not-
Wexler.
Hang on.
No, we did not.
No,
we
sir.
did not do
Can you not interrupt me, please? I'm saying is, that's not boding well for us that you had all of that clearing, and you say that created a mess. Oh, now we just want to pave over the mess. How do we square that?
How you square that is, first of all, there's an allegation that we did illegal clearing.
We can see it.
But I have no idea why the trees disappeared. I don't know who
You
did
really
it.
think some stranger came in and cut down an acre of trees?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, stop.
Okay?
That's,
I
you
do
want
know-
credibility?
I do know that, right, there's a ton of buffer in trees that still exist, much more than required by the code at this time. We're not looking to add any structures. We're not looking to add any outdoor storage. It's simply to clean it up and put the drainage and parking that exists. That's what I do know.
But there has been outdoor storage here in the past, has there not?
There has. Well, certainly there was even a permit for it, but there isn't now. Well, there was that permit in 1975 when I was 12 years old. That's no longer there.
So what's the expansion of the non-conforming use here if there's no outdoor storage? What's being expanded?
Well-
What's non-conforming?
Well, I took the position that we didn't have to make this application, but when we submitted the site plan, they said you have to make the application to the ZBA based on essentially the conversion of that dirt area to drainage and parking. The planning board told Tom, you have to make this application.
I think it was engineering, right? Yes.
Engineering.
Distinction. So the difference between an industrial 1 use and industrial 2 use is that industrial 1 uses are confined to the interior of the building. So that's how the CO was issued in 1971. Engineering directed you to seek an expansion of a nonconforming use, and in so doing, they established a legal nonconforming use for you.
Yeah, I am well aware of that.
So they're not correct. You didn't have, they were assuming that scrap metal yard, which is the way they wrote it, they called it a yard.
I saw that also.
Which would be use of the yard, and that would be taking place outside the building.
But we're not looking for that.
I believe this denial was actually written by zoning. There is a site plan in, but I believe zoning wrote this denial.
I think he said the same thing, but okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
So they conferred, I'm sure. So if you're saying you propose to, you're actually asking to amend the application. You're actually saying we don't want to be considered a legal nonconforming use.
We wanted drainage and parking. That's what we wanted.
I've seen a lot of applicants come in front of me, I've represented a lot of applicants, I've never had one jumping up and down to put in drainage and parking.
Right.
Well, we didn't even realize we had to be here for drainage and parking. To be honest, Tom was very surprised by that.
But you don't need additional parking.
Yeah,
They don't, that's true.
But the yard, it's the terminology of a scrap metal yard. So you're saying you don't use the yard for scrap metal processing at all?
Yeah, our application was solely, Tom, right, was solely for drainage and the parking.
Well, I understand that, but we're asking you about the use of the property.
Yeah, and the interior, the building is what has the CO for the scrap metal.
Right, because in reviewing the historic aerials, there's no question that it's at various times over the course of these 50 years, it has been used as a yard.
And I believe the town issued tickets to the prior stockholders, and then we resolved it by removing.
The town issued tickets to the actual stockholders, or do they
Well,
issue tickets
well,
to the corporation?
Well, to the corporation that was owned by the
Can I
previous
ask,
stockholders.
Nick, could you enlarge? I'm trying to figure out what is on the property.
You mean zoom in, or?
Zoom in, yeah.
Yeah, this
Because,
is
there's no outdoor
fairly
storage.
current. This is this year. this is showing.
So industrial one does not permit outdoor storage. What are
Not
all
without
those
special permit.
things?
Are those dumpsters?
They're dumpsters that come and go, because that's what the scrap metal goes in. They come, they
But
go,
isn't
they
that,
come, they go.
is that considered outdoor, that's considered outdoor storage?
Well, I would disagree with that.
No,
as they come and go.
that's the law. That's the code. Yeah, that's the same one where the stranger came in and cut down 427 trees without you guys
I've
knowing
only
about
fought
it,
that
but-
fight probably
Can you
40
also
years.
zoom in a little more? We're just trying to understand what's on the property. So we have, looks like 40 dumpsters, and then it looks like there's,
It looks like also several vehicles. Maybe
yeah,
like a tractor trailer, that kind of.
but that's
maybe.
outdoor storage, and then there's trailers.
I will say this, they do not appear to have piles of scrap metal outdoors, which is.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're not allowed to have, it's industrial one, they're not allowed to have the outdoor, the dumpsters. And it's not like it's one. It looks like there's 30. Okay. I got it, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Please.
Good evening. My name is Alexander Macias.
Speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alexander Macias. I live in 64 Cannon Drive, Holbrook, New York.
Is that the road behind it?
Yes.
With all those nice-looking houses and pools and well-manicured,
That-
solid
yeah,
lawns,
that's-
that maps to a scrapyard?
That is not nice for my yard because it looks really bad. It's every day we have contamination for the noisy, and we hearing when it's cut the tree for expander, and also we have a lot of pets is coming into my backyard. It's coming a snake, raccoon, rat, and we have to try to killing that one because I have my dogs and my cat in there. It fight with the raccoon, it fight with the snake. Everything is come from there because all the time is especially in that couple months, then trying to plan it to expand them because then remove everything behind my house and also it make it noisy. It's since to 5 o'clock in the morning to late in the afternoon. Okay, you don't have include the weekends and you don't have the clear one to still relax and also it got a lot of mosquitoes in the summer.
Can I just ask you one question? I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you.
Yes.
But when did you buy that house?
I buy like 2 years ago.
Did you know that there was a scrap metal yard there? It's been there since what,
It's not a yard.
1974?
It's not a yard.
Oh, it's
No.
not a yard. Did you know that there was a scrap metal facility there?
Yeah.
It's been there since the 70s, from what I'm told.
Yeah, that's one
So you
when,
kinda knew what you were getting
okay,
into.
when I'm going to sell the house, we're going in the Sunday and we don't see too much noise. Yeah? But
I just
then
wanted
it's
to
the
make sure
happen.
the record was clear.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Do you think they should? Okay, everybody, we have 12 accessory apartments to renew for a period of 3 years.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I think we'll give that to Bill, oh no, Chris and Bill. And no read-ins tonight.
All right.
Thank you, Ken, that's a wrap.
Can I round those? And I said, it's up to you.
Yo, girl, I thought she was mine.